This is my attempt to start a stream in a very smooth way for a change instead of saying should be live. I'm resisting the urge to say should be live while I wait for this thing to load on my end. And we're talking at the first possible point where VOD viewers could hear us. So I don't think I have any important announcements for the VOD viewers. Like last time, I probably won't talk about the aesthetic deception video yet. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. But I'll let it speak for itself for the time being. I think I'm just waiting for people to roll in. I should have written down some stuff to discuss because I think that's been working pretty well, but I didn't. There hasn't been that much happening in the last couple of weeks. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm doing okay. Doing okay. Could be better, could be worse. I hope you get well soon. I'm not feeling 100% myself, but I think I'm okay. Probably just bad sleep or something. Hello. I'm not sure when I should do the game reveal. Is it fun to do the game reveal? You can see it in the thumbnail if you're a VOD viewer. Maybe I should be swapping out the thumbnails, but I figure it's better for people trying to go back over them if you have a picture of the game that was there. I move away from the mic to gulp. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have the audio on the game turned up a little bit this time. And I have the audio ducking on, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know how that's gonna go. Okay, we ready to see the game? It's not gonna be a big surprise this time anyway. This is a mid-game save file, so you may see some slightly spoilery stuff depending on where we go and what we do in this. Just fair warning. Like the Ratchet save file from last time. Yeah, maybe I have the audio too low. You can tell me. I could have tested this before we started, but I just didn't bother. But I think I have this working now. I'm going to boost the game audio. This might be too loud, so brace yourself. Okay, so the game should be coming up pretty loud. But when I talk, it should go down. And then whenever I'm talking, it should go down. And then it should come back up slowly then afterwards. I'm kind of doing this for myself anyway. I'll check it out later. We'll lower that. So maybe I'll lower it somewhere in the middle so that it comes up a little bit when I'm not talking. We'll try it around here and you can tell me if it's too annoying to have the game popping in all the time. I think it'll suit the way that I stream though, because I do tend to talk for long stretches and then take little breaks here and there, so I was looking at the settings and I only wish I could make it fade back in even slower than I already do, because I think it would be nicer if it really only came in after a couple of seconds of silence or something. Yeah, I get what you're saying. The hijack prompts. I don't know if there's anywhere I can stand on this bridge where they won't show up.
Roger. Continue our sweep.
I don't want to fall down. Yeah, it's pretty generous with where you can do it. So I don't know. Maybe I should just go stand on one of them things. Maybe that's a good idea.
Area secure.
I don't know where this goes, so I don't know what this is going to look like long term, but don't stand on the front of it like so. That's nice. Hopefully it goes in a circle. If it does, then maybe this is good. But we're still getting the hijack prompt sometimes. It's got to be very generous because it's a context sensitive action. That's why. That's why it has to be so generous. Hello everybody. My girlfriend is complaining about me, quote, taking you to bed each time you stream because I'm watching on my phone. Dude. Dude. I don't want to be in bed with you. I'm in bed with a bunch of you right now, am I? I don't really want to think about that. Thank you, Machi. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad I was able to come back with something worthwhile, something solid, you know? That's how it feels to me anyway. I move away from the mic to sip and to gulp. Hang on a second there, fellas. Yeah, this is cool. I'll probably just stay on this thing for a while. This is nice. We can maybe go to one of the levels. I think on this one, bit of a spoiler here, but I think on this one I've already done the forest level, so it would have been nice to go out and see the gyroscope looking thing. But I think I've already done that on this save, so I'm not sure where else we could go. We'll go to the old town, or it would be nice to go up the tower. Maybe we'll do that later if I can remember how to get to it. And if you can go back into it. I think you can, but whoa, why is he sliding off? How would you solve the hijack to make it diegetic instead of a big ugly prompt? Would you have Jack tense up or something? Like when there's something he can steal near enough? I don't know. I don't know. I think my gut reaction, he's still sliding around a lot. Maybe I need to position him somewhere in the middle here so that he doesn't just fall into the water. I have the controller put down in front of me, so I could just hold on to it, but I'm feeling a bit lazy. Yeah, I mean, this is an easy thing to say and a much harder thing to figure out, but my gut reaction there is to try and rethink this in a more fundamental way somehow, you know? Like, I think part of the problem with this game in particular is just that the things are hovering over you all the time. So, and that probably made them easier to program in some ways, and like, and it's kind of cool, and it sets the game apart from GTA and stuff like that. So there's plenty of reasons to do it. But I think it's the lead cause of this problem because it just makes it much harder to see when you can and can't hijack stuff. You know, the way that I would probably try and approach it, I'll just hold the controller, fuck's sake. The way that I would probably try and approach it is more like, I don't know, it's an action that you have to do yourself. You have to actually jump onto the car yourself somehow or something, you know? But that's a pretty big change, and you're rebalancing the game and stuff at that point, so I don't know. I do feel like there probably is a better intermediate solution you could come up with than just a giant button prompt, but you could animate Daxter somehow. Like you could have Daxter's head look upwards in a really obvious way. Maybe that's something. Oh, that sucks. Power went out. That sucks. Hope it comes back. Are you watching? Well, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but you don't. Do you have power back already, or are you just watching this somehow, some other way? But yeah, man, I've been there. That sucks. Well, we haven't lost power during a heat wave, but we lost power once when it was really cold, and for a pretty long period of time, and that was very unenjoyable. So I've been there. It's a shame he keeps sliding, that's the only problem here. Otherwise it'd be a nice little thing to just leave it running for half an hour or something. I haven't commented on anything really yet. No, we're warming up here. We're warming up here. First stream since the Steam machine died. Is that true? I think, was the price not revealed before the last stream? I was going to, maybe it wasn't, because I was thinking, I had it written down somewhere for one of my ideas. I was thinking I should make a poll with the exact same options as the other time and see how it's changed, because the Steam Deck price skyrocketed in the meantime. Yeah, I don't think I can go in for €1,000 on the Steam machine. It's very unfortunate. It seems like if you factor in the price rise that the deck had, that they were aiming for somewhere around 700, which would have been a lot more reasonable to me. That still would have been a little bit painful, but I think I probably would have gone for it at 700. 600 I'd be enthusiastic. 500 I think it would have been a no-brainer, but yeah, 1,000 I don't think I can do it even after all these price hikes. I don't know though. I was thinking of getting your opinion on this, chat. You can let me know. Should I just pull the trigger? Because I am kind of in need of new hardware, and I can't say I'm financially comfortable by any means, but I'm not broke. You know, I do have money in the bank to be able to buy equipment if I need it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to get fucked on this if I buy something, you know. For all I know, the prices are going to keep going up, but I just feel like I'm going to get fucked on something. What I was thinking was, this still hasn't come to fruition. I have a lot of other stuff I need to get out of the way before we can do this. But if I do that stream marathon idea, it would be nice to... You know, I only found out recently when we tried to do it on one of the streams recently that I apparently can't stream at 1080p for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm doing it at 720p right now, and it says the CPU is at 40%, which seems quite high to me, but you know, it's a 10-year-old laptop, so if I was going to do that marathon idea, it would be nice to be able to capture at or stream it at 1080p for better footage looking back, you know. Just because I think part of the appeal in that idea for me as well is generating something that people might actually want to go back and rewatch, and try to do those such things in the highest quality that I can, you know. So yeah, it would be nice to have some kind of computer, but I don't know. What's the feeling on this? Prices only go one way. I'm not sure the prices will get better for the next 6 years. Investing in any technology right now seems risky. Not impressed by the Steam machine performance, yeah. I agree with Cory Doctorow that a part price crash is coming sometime in the next few years, so buying anything right now might not be the best idea. That's the hope. But it's not the way things have been trending, we have to admit, you know? As the saying go, the market can remain insane a lot longer than you can remain solvent, something like that, you know? I do think one aspect of the Steam Machine that people overlook, I don't know exactly the numbers on this. Like I said, I would have preferred a bigger form factor if that could have made it cheaper. I don't know why they felt the need to make it so tiny, but one good thing that I do find appealing about it is the low power profile. You know, that adds up. Compared to the PS5, I have a launch I didn't get it at launch, but I have the earliest model of the PS5, and it's probably a complete power hog, you know? I don't know. My gut says that the Steam Machine probably runs at half the power, if not a quarter, maybe. So you add that up over a long enough period of time, and you do save money in the end that way, you know? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, personally, I think that's the biggest mistake they made with it, was making it so small. If, again, I don't understand all of the information about this, but if it's true that making it even twice as big would make it 10% cheaper, I think most people would take that trade-off, you know? You do have to factor in, though, because Valve is doing all the logistics of all this kind of stuff, that they must save money when the machine is small. You know, you can fit more of them onto a truck and blah, blah, blah. So that's might factor into it as well. Like the cube form factor probably helps there as well, you know? But, yeah. Sony bilking people for a disk drive attachment for their hardware and then turning around and saying, oops, no more discs, is pretty brutal. Yeah, I'm assuming you all saw the news today. Gamer news, big gamer news dropped, fellas. Just keeps happening. We live in interesting times. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It felt like it came out of nowhere. There wasn't even, as far as I was aware, there wasn't even any rumors of this happening or whatever. So pretty crazy. I just don't see a PlayStation 6 happening. I just don't see it happening. I don't know. I know I'm not exactly the target audience that they go for these days, but I just don't see it working. I cannot conceive of a way that they can launch a PS6 and have it be successful. Like I said before, this is a point that's really worth absorbing and drilling home for people, is Xbox has fucking collapsed. Xbox has completely and utterly collapsed, and yet PlayStation is only doing about as well as they were in the PS4 era. And maybe a bit better, I don't know. That's my understanding of the numbers, at least. If I'm off, I'm probably not that far off. So to me, if I'm in the shoes of the PlayStation executives, that's not comfortable. That's not a good thing. That is actually a very worrying sign, you know? And that your main competition has basically dropped out of the market and you're barely doing any better than you were before. So I think a PS6 launch is just complete non-starter. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially with the output that they've had lately. I don't know. Yeah, Nintendo is absolutely crushing everybody on the output thing. They've had, I mean, you can quibble because it's a remake, but the Star Fox thing came out, what, 2 weeks ago? I don't know, I haven't played it yet. 2 weeks ago, something like that. Rhythm Heaven is out today, and then Splatoon Raiders is out in less than 3 weeks, I think. They had Yoshi earlier this year. There's rumors of another game that could be this year. I don't know. We'll get to that in a bit. And who knows what else. They've got other stuff like the Duskbloods coming and all that kind of stuff. So when you compare it to Fire Emblem and Ocarina of Time remake, when you compare it to Sony's output, it's just the difference is night and day. So what's the pitch for the PS6? Over $1,000, no discs, and basically no exclusives. All cross-platform for how many years? 5 years, 6 years? Who knows? Cross-platform for most of its lifespan. Barely any exclusives. But it can play fair games, you know? Oh my god. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know what's going on over there, but they need a reality check because I don't see that working out. I don't see it working out. Of course, some people will buy it, you know. I mean, if you never got a PlayStation 5 and you're in the market for one, I don't know. It's not like it's a scam. It's not like a PS6 would be a scam or something, but I just don't see it working out. So they're going to need another plan. I don't know how it is elsewhere in the world. Be interested to hear from you, but here in Ireland at least, the store is a complete fucking rip-off compared to the physical versions of games that you can get. The store prices are insane. I don't know if this is just another way that being in Ireland you get fucked, because we do seem to get uniquely fucked on a lot of things here. Regarding games, so maybe that's what it is, but the price just doesn't make any sense. It's something like €80 for a digital game. Maybe it's €70, but I think it's €80 or something. But the physical version, if you buy them online or whatever, you can get them cheaper than that, especially if you just wait a little bit as well. So it just doesn't make any sense to buy digitally from the store. So the idea that they're going to cut off the physical and you're only going to be able to get them digital is just, I'm not paying that price. I can't pay that price regularly for, well, it's not like they're releasing that many exclusives, I suppose. So, but yeah, I don't know. If you're buying third-party games on it as well, you know, and they all get set to a high price there as well, I can't justify it. I don't know. I said it just recently that the Switch 2 is probably going to be the last opportunity to have a nice physical library. I think even though Sony has done this and probably Xbox will follow and Nintendo will probably start, you know, Nintendo will be happy to sell you digital games as well because they don't have to do physical manufacturing then, and they're probably hurting more than anyone on the costs of the cartridges and all that kind of stuff. But I think there is still a non-zero chance that the next Switch model would still have a cartridge slot on it. After that, though, I don't know. I think we're in the all-digital world then after the next Nintendo console. I would like to be wrong, but you know. Yeah, it sounds like the experience I'm seeing from other people is that they're pretty bad prices elsewhere in the world as well on the PS Store.
I've got suspicious activity in this sector.
Not sure what else I have to say. It's kind of an interesting question. Treston asks, Do you think you would still have decided to become a programmer if AI was a thing back then? I kind of don't see myself as a programmer, first of all. I have done a lot of programming, obviously, but it's not really my calling in life. I didn't set out to be a programmer exactly. I mean, I'm interested in programming because it's the way games are made. I'm not all that interested in programming for its own sake. I respect it though. Do respect that mentality. I think it's interesting, and I kind of wish I had a little bit more of that in me. I do think one of the weaknesses I have as a programmer is I don't do a lot of practice. I don't have a lot of other things that I make with programming. I don't do any programming practice or anything other than when I'm just trying to work on stuff. But setting that aside, that I don't really see myself as a programmer in that sense. I mean, I'd be happy to be one, to be honest, if I had, yeah. I think more than anything, I would like to be, if I had to just have one job, if I had to just pick one thing and I can't step outside of that box, then it's game designer, or game director or something, but something along those lines. But I wouldn't mind being a programmer full time as the only thing that I do. Yeah, to put all that aside anyway, the answer is yes, because AI just doesn't really change the way that I approach anything. That's why I haven't used it. That's why I don't use it. It's just antithetical to the way that I do things. I think that's pretty obvious if you've seen the way that I operate over all these years, Most indie developers, this is not even necessarily a point in my favor. I'd probably be a lot more successful if I wasn't this way. But most indie developers don't go and write their own little renderer or whatever. They're not doing their own Switch port. They're not. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. I did the same thing with the channel where I kind of just ignored what everybody else was doing and did my own thing. And that's just what I prefer to do. I don't know. That's just the way I am. That's my preference. And that's why I don't see AI changing anything for me, because it's a little bit difficult to define, because I do have instrumental goals, as in, like, say when I'm making Logic Bombs, I want to get this game made and get it out and have people play it, right? That's the instrumental goal of it. And that's very important to me. And it's not as though I can't sit here and lie and tell you that I enjoy every minute of work. Even when I'm doing something that I am happy to be doing, like working on the engine. I haven't done that in like 6 months, and I wish I had more time to do that and hadn't let that lapse for so long now at this point already, but it's not always enjoyable work, right? Work is work, and that's okay. So it's not like I enjoy every second of it, but there's something about it that is just what I want to be doing with myself, and
Nothing so far.
yeah, I don't know how else to put it. So I do have other issues with AI. But if I'm being honest, that's probably the main reason. It's just not something I want to use just for my own satisfaction or my own whatever term you want to use. It's not. I'm not going to say it, but it's not my something. But yeah, that's why I don't use it. I think there's plenty of other reasons not to use it. There's ethical concerns around it, and I get all that. I also am not, I mean, this concern will probably go away sooner or later, but I'm also concerned that it's not anywhere near as efficient as people believe it to be, because these AI companies are incentivized to absorb costs for as long as possible before they can hook everybody in and then shitify it, which is just the game plan these days. So they're absorbing as much cost as they can right now. If you go onto one of these things and you generate some little junk video, you're probably costing the company a lot more money than you would think. So there's that. Also, there's also an efficiency in a sort of broader sense of the term. If you're talking about efficiency on the whole, in terms of the whole sort of human project, to reuse the example, I'm sure some of you have seen little slop videos that people post, and they make some piece of shit where like a, you know, cats are doing things or whatever, right? It's so, or some like, for some reason, some of the ones I've seen are just people cutting through things and then they cut through them and it doesn't behave the way it does in reality or something. I don't know. They're all fucking stupid, right? But they generate these little videos, and then presumably what's happening is behind the scenes they're actually generating more videos than they post, because the thing is probably spewing out a load of crap that is not worthwhile to anyone. And then you generate this video and you look at it and maybe you show it to two of your friends or something, and then you might never look at that video ever again, right? So when you think about how much effort goes into this in terms of energy and all that, and you're generating a video that is watched by someone, has almost no impact on that person, and then they save it to their phone or whatever, and then they actually never look at it again. They might never see the video again. Nobody in the history of humanity might ever watch that video again. When you think about the ratio of sort of effort to human well-being that is generated, that's extremely wasteful compared to what humans do. And if I use myself as an example, okay, even if I had spent all that time and effort on Logic Bombs and put it out and only 10 people played it, thankfully that's not what happened, right? But if only 10 people had played it, at least a human, myself in this case, would have done something that they felt was a worthwhile use of their time and brought something into the world that they actually cared about, right? I cared about the game. And that means something, even if very few people engage with it. That, I think that's meaningful, you know, in some way. So I think that when you think about it in those terms, it's extremely inefficient in terms of human effort. And because when I say human effort, some people will say, well, no human was involved. Well, the thing is, those things are fed. You have to think about the production chain, right? Those things are sitting in server farms, and the server farms are heating up some place in, I don't know, Arizona somewhere. Some town is listening to a 50 decibel drone all day, every day in sweltering heat or whatever. And the energy is being pulled from their power grid and they're paying higher energy costs. And that energy is not going to things that could enrich our lives in other ways. So it's a human is not involved, but it still takes away from our energy, you know? I mean, it's kind of, you can say that this is an inhumane way to think about things, but fundamentally everything that happens is just exchange of energy, you know? And when you spend that energy on AI, it's not going towards something else. Like a simple example would just be, instead of building the AI data center, you build a greenhouse, right? Or some kind of place where you can put lamps down and you can grow food. And now people have more food than they had before. And maybe you say we don't need more food, and that's okay, fine. But the point is that the energy could be spent on something else. So even if a human is not involved, it's still ultimately us that pay the price in the end, right? Or that feed into the system. If you know, we're the ones that drill for the oil that goes and gets turned into petroleum, and then the petroleum gets turned into energy, and the energy gets turned into a data center, and the data center gets turned into the crappy video that gets watched by one person. So it all adds up in that way. And I think the problem is the whole thing that I just described about generating the video and it being seen once and making no impression and nobody really caring, and it's just this huge waste, is a very hard thing to quantify. I think that's why people aren't really seeing the disaster that's unfolding right now, you know. But yeah. But to be honest, the main reason I don't use AI is just because I'm not that way anyway. You know, even if it was very efficient, even if there was no ethical concerns, even if there was nothing blah blah blah, if I make something, I want to be the person who made it. That's part of what drives me, you know. So call it whatever you want. I don't think too deeply about what pushes me forward, because maybe I would stall out even more than I already do. ego or whatever way you want to phrase it. That's fine. Oh, that's great. That's great, Casey. I think I am getting numb and jaded when viewing a lot of things these days because of all that gets thrown at you that is similar to good art but isn't. I hate it. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I'll address that in a second. I want to say, you know what's awkward about being a streamer is reading out the comments, and it feels, the way I have to read the comments feels kind of uncharitable, so I don't mean it that way. But I have to kind of put on a little drone so that if somebody is you know what I'm saying, right? If somebody is listening to the audio so that they know that I'm reading a comment and not expressing my own opinion. But it always sounds a little bit uncharitable when I read them out. It sounds like I'm not giving you, I'm not putting the energy into it, you know? So, yeah, I get what you mean. I think that's happening even with human stuff, is there's just a lot of... you can see the influences and stuff very clearly, you know, and sometimes that drags things down. I don't know.
Roger. Continue our sweep.
Maybe not enough innovation going on. Happy to hear that, Wrench. Yeah, it's a great show. Patriot, recommended it before for anybody who doesn't know. Patriot, it's very good.
The area is secure.
If you haven't seen Widow's Bay, that's fun. Seems like that show has taken off, which is well deserved. Oh. Happy Canada Day from Canada. Is it Canada Day? Thank you, Canada. All of Canada wished me Happy Canada Day. It's amazing. I don't even live in Canada. Oh yeah, Maniac is great. Yeah, I'd recommend that. I mean, it's apples to oranges, but yeah, that would be a better one to watch than Widow's Bay. Widow's Bay is still ongoing anyway. Season 1 only just came out. Yeah, Bayo 3 skyboxes are nice, yeah. I played a bit of Red Dead Redemption again for the last video, and the skyboxes in that game are still unmatched. I actually still haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2. I've been waiting for years now at this point for the PS5 version to come out, because I kind of missed the boat on it when it first came out, and I just, you know, I don't have a good PC. And I just don't want to play the PS4 one at this point. I don't know. It probably plays totally fine, but I just thought I should just wait for the PS5 version to come, and it still hasn't come out. But the skyboxes in Red Dead Redemption 1 at least are absolutely beautiful. They're really, really well done. I think they might still be the best skyboxes I've seen in a game. Did you like Doom Eternal? I can't really give you a good opinion on it. The footage in the video is captured from the PS5 when I had the PS Plus, which is why you don't really see me playing it in the video, because I don't like playing those games with thing. I did play it on my Steam Deck, but it was really chugging by the end. It was pretty playable in the beginning. I forget, I might sometimes, often, when I play games docked, because I wanted to play Doom Eternal with mouse and keyboard. So I played it docked, and often when I play docked, I push it to 1080p, which the deck isn't really made for. Um, I'm not sure if I did that with Doom Eternal, because that's kind of pushing your luck. But it was fairly playable at the start, to be honest. But as I got deep into the game, it got really rough to play. And so I feel like I can't really give you a good opinion on it. What I will say is I haven't played the Dark Ages yet. But what I will say is those new Doom games, I like that they're all different from each other. I like that you could conceivably enjoy one and, well, probably you're going to enjoy them all, I don't know, but you could pick one of them as your favorite and it would make sense that you would enjoy the other ones less, you know. I hope they continue with that approach. And I think that it's a very, like I've said before, it's kind of a Nintendo thing to do, you know. They're using the IP the safety of the IP to explore different kinds of FPS combat. And I think that that's a worthwhile endeavor. So definitely praise them for that. But I don't think I could give you a solid opinion on Eternal. I think this is a very preliminary thought, but I don't know about it. Later in the game, this is a kind of a spoiler. It's something you can figure out way before then, but it's kind of a spoiler. But later in the game just straight up encourages you to swap weapons to skip the cooldown on shots on longer weapons and stuff. And I just thought it's quite inelegant, you know. The game just has a lot of buttons and a lot of different things that you're supposed to be doing every second. And I can understand the appeal in that, but I think personally I'm more interested in when games have a smaller number of things and try to get more out of it, you know. Kind of like a Hyper Demon or something like that. Because I can't help but feel when the game has so much stuff in it that it probably should be more engaging than it currently is, you know? I don't know. But I don't know. I would like to play it again with a nice setup where it's not going to chug and I can get into it without being, you know, pulled away by any sort of technical problems or anything like that. Yeah, the noise is great. I like them more than Pepino. Did I use? No, I didn't. I captured some Pizza Tower footage for the video, but I used Pepino for it. I didn't end up using it. There was one piece of footage that didn't make it into the video. I don't know why. I'm pissed off when I think back on this because I probably should have got it in there somewhere. Yeah, I think it was just too rapid fire. It's when I'm talking about Breath of the Wild. It was just too rapid fire for when I was talking. But there's at least, I think there's two actually, but there's at least two shrines in the game where there's a brick in the wall that looks identical to all the other bricks, but it's magnetic. So you look at it and it just looks normal, but then you turn on magnesis and it glows, and that's part of the puzzle. I had a nice piece of footage for that, but I didn't end up using it. I was thinking back on that after the video went out and wondering why I didn't. I think the editing would have been a bit too fast-paced at that point if I had put it in where I wanted to initially put it. It's the part where I come up against the invisible wall in the desert. You know, where I talk about how there's some exceptions and some things. It should be obvious. I don't know whether I need to say stuff like that, because it should be obvious that if I say Breath of the Wild has a really low level of aesthetic deception, it should be obvious that that does not mean it has no aesthetic deception in it whatsoever, you know? But, yeah. It's good to be clear. Could you recommend some PS4 or PS5 games that I should be panic buying right now? Like it's The Last Chopper from Nam. Besides Gravity Rush 2. I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of want now that they've announced this. This is kind of a stupid thing for me to want. But for some reason, I think it would feel really right, you know? This is kind of a stupid thing for me to want. But I would like physical Switch 2 releases for Vanillaware's games. Unless they run flawlessly on the Switch 2 already. Maybe they do, I haven't checked that. But you know, you want them to run 4K 60 FPS with no drops. I can't imagine that 13 Sentinels does, because I think he... Well, it's okay if that one chugs a little bit. I think even on the PS5, it's a PS4 game, but even if you play it on the PS5, I think it chugs slightly in some of the later levels. But that's okay, it's not really vital, you know. But that's something that I would like to have a physical edition of, because I have 13 Sentinels. What do I have physicals of? I don't have Dragon's Crown. I don't know why. Oh, because I got it on... Yeah, because I have it on the PS3, and I didn't have a 4K TV for a long time. So I skipped the PS4 version of that, Dragon's Crown Pro. But I have most of the other Vanillaware games on physical. I have 13 Sentinels, Unicorn Overlord, Odin Sphere, Leaf Tracer, Grim Grimoire. Yeah, so I don't have Dragon's Crown and I don't have Muramasa because they didn't do that one yet. But I'd kind of like Switch versions of those instead. Little cartridges. It's just way more satisfying to have a cartridge. I don't know. Maybe it's just my decrepit boomer brain talking. Alright, well this is the longest any Vista has been going on in any of these games. Hopefully that being on the little thing made it a little more interesting, but we'll carry on here. And we're showing off spoilers. Which I didn't need to do because I could have just waited for a car to come along. Where should we go is the only question. I don't know. I don't want to take too long driving around. I think I have all the city unlocked here. Is there a way north? Yeah, I think I have everything unlocked. Oh, we gotta go show the billboard. If I can find it. It's a nice little scene there with the lights on the trees. This is kind of nice, actually. You don't really come here a lot in the game, from what I remember. Like, you don't really route through this area very often. What the hell am I doing? No. How do I put the gun away? Okay, there we go. I was trying to roll. Yeah, I don't really remember this place. You don't really come through here a lot. So where are we going? I feel like you never come through here.
Suspicious activity in the sector. Please advise. Suspect's description.
You can probably go back up the elevator because there's some orbs, I think, up at the top of it. So. Oh, there we go.
Patrolling sector 9.
we'll try and get a nice visual over this way. Ratchet and Clank in the distance.
Be advised, I'm on foot.
It's kind of nice. It'd be nice if we could get that one,
Sweeping for
that sign
suspects.
there on screen as well. That's nice. There we go. That's a nice scene there. We're going to keep getting the hijack prompts, but
This is Unit Alpha. We're en route. Nothing so far. Moving to next sector.
so yeah, there was another rumor. Do we want to talk about the rumor? Suppose I'm going to spoil probably one of Nintendo's upcoming projects if you haven't heard this rumor yet. It's more than a rumor, really. It was a leak, basically. Yeah, apparently Metroid Ravenous is the next one.
Suspect's description.
It's kind of a fun title. You know what the main thing I was thinking was, when this got announced, I'm a believer in criticism, believe it or not, and I try not to be negative
Sweet.
without cause, but I am a believer in criticism, and I suppose there's plenty of harsh criticism out there these days, but I don't know. Is it high quality and harsh, you know?
Area secure.
That's the problem. I was reflecting on it. I was thinking, okay, Metroid Ravenous, it's kind of sounds like it could be a follow-up to Dread or something like that, and maybe Mercury Steam are the ones doing it. And if so, the first thought that came to mind was I was thinking about, maybe it was last stream where we were having our little Whiplash reference, and I was saying, you know, I'm ready to throw a symbol at Retro Studios' head. And I was thinking to myself, why did I not do this for Dread? You know, because I talked about little things. I kind of talked about something that's more intellectually interesting, which is the camera problem that I was talking about.
Please advise.
Where there's something about, you know, keeping the camera in its usual location that just feels better to me when I'm playing a game and blah, blah, blah. But if I was actually critiquing the game, I probably wouldn't even mention that. You know, I might mention it as a curiosity if I did a proper video. But it's not something that I would expect a viewer to take away as a serious critique. If I was going to critique Metroid Dread, the number one thing that I would say is that the level design simply wasn't good enough. It just wasn't, you know? And I kind of... Now that there's this idea of another one coming so soon, I kind of feel maybe it would have been nice to just hammer that point home somehow in case it was heard, you know? But the level design let that game down in a big way. There's things about it that I don't quite like. You know, I don't like how restrictive the wall jump is, but I can get over that because they also put a lot of care into Samus's movement, and the athletic way she moves around is fun, and there's things in it that are better than other Metroid games, you know, like the slide and the way that she can climb into little one block gaps that are just one tile off the floor and stuff like that. All that is great. She moves in such a fluid way. There's obviously a lot of care put into it, you know. So I can get over the fact that it's not exactly like Super Metroid in some ways. I don't need it to be. But the level design was just not good enough. That's the way I feel about it.
Roger. Continuing our sweep.
You know, I've talked sometimes about how I'm not as enamored by the Hollow Knight games as other people are, but this is one way Silksong blows Dread out of the water in terms of level design. The levels in Silksong have a nice sense of place to them, you know, and it's even structurally well put together in some ways. You know, I think maybe the first act is not quite as good as the second act in some ways. The second act really benefits from the fact that it has this big central area, which is easy to get back to, and then the other things sort of branch off. And I understand why they wouldn't want to make the whole map like that, right? That would be boring, especially if you do that all the time. But it just, the map has a great sense of space to it. The places feel like places. You kind of understand why they're there. And yes, it's in some ways it's still too gamey sometimes, you know. Like I think this is one of the things about Hollow Knight's presentation. Silksong was better about this, but I think it still sort of fell down in a few places. But in Hollow Knight, you just have these platforms hovering in the air, which is obviously I play a lot of games that are like that, but for something that seemed to want to, for me to get invested in the world to a degree, which is more than other Metroid games. Like maybe it's a little bit of an unfair critique because basically they were putting effort into the world design that some Metroidvanias don't bother to do. But that just means that you kind of, there's certain elements then that stick out more, let's put it that way, like floating platforms, you know. But anyway, setting that aside, the world is just way, way better than Dread. Dread was just so disconnected. You've got these teleporters that just take you to other parts of the map, and then you're in this little constrained area, and then you sometimes you teleport back or you teleport to a different part of the map, or there's just too many elevators and trams and things. The places, they don't feel like real places. They don't have a good sense of space. The rooms don't really stand out in your memory. They don't have a lot of personality. Like again, to use Silksong as the example, there's personality to those areas, you know, like the central area in the second act. It has this personality, and it has a structure to it. It's like a structure that repeats, right? There's this central sort of building, and then there's areas outside that where you get into that repetitive back forth platform thing, kind of like what you'd see in Symphony of the Night, where there's platform in the middle and then platforms at the side halfway up, and then, you know, you're jumping back and forth between. But not every area of the game is like that. And Super Metroid does this better than Dread as well, right? Where not every room is like this, but rooms have sort of a personality to them. Where there's a thing that this room is kind of about, you know? Like this is the room where you duck underneath it, like the lava is coming up, and you have to be in morph ball form or whatever. You have to go down into these little divots in the floor while the lava is coming up and down, and it's just, yeah, there's just more personality to it in Super, and especially in some modern Metroidvanias as well. And I feel like that really let Dread down. And so that's the main reason why I'm not excited about, because I feel like Samus Returns had the same problem. Dread was maybe a little bit of an improvement, but not anywhere near as much as it ideally would have been. And so this leak of Metroid Ravenous, the main reason I'm not excited for it is I'm just thinking, well, if it has the same level design as those other two games, because it's Mercury Steam, and if they carry on doing it the same way, no matter what else is in the game, I feel like at best it will be great, but it won't be excellent, right? That thing will just hold it back from being an excellent game. I just don't think there's any way around it. I think the level design was such a weak link that it held them back. And so I don't know, you need criticism to say those kinds of things, and yeah, to get this across, you know. So hopefully somebody internally, or because the feedback on Dread was very positive, so I can't imagine there was a lot of people saying this or saying it in no uncertain terms, right? Because I don't know, I feel it quite strongly. I feel like the level design let it down. It's not that the level design itself was even outright bad. It was a great game. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I ever did a full second playthrough, but you know, I'd be happy to replay it again. I was thinking, you know, once I saw that leak, I was thinking, yeah, I should play Dread again. It was fun. But yeah, it was just a big step down from the rest of the game. I mean, the music was too. The music was not up to scratch either, but that was less impactful to the experience, I found. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot I liked about Dread. I like the ME sequences as well. I like that they offer something that's not in any other Metroid game, you know? So I think it had that going for it. And I hope that this new game has something like that as well. Um, maybe there could be, I don't know, there's things that they could do with it that would probably be polarizing, but yeah, I would be happy to see something polarizing maybe out of the game. What does Metroid Ravenous mean if that really is the title? What does, you know, will that be conveyed through the gameplay some way? Maybe. But yeah, I think that let it down, and
Moving to next sector.
the prospect of getting more of that level design just doesn't excite me. So I think part of the problem is it was too constrained. There wasn't, obviously you want some areas of the game. Again, Silksong walks a nice balance here. There's some areas of the game that are very linear. There are these gauntlets that you go on that are like, you're not going anywhere else. You know, you got to get through this part and then it'll loop back around to a part you've already been to. And that's fine. But Dread just felt very constrained all the time. Like there wasn't really a place where you could just be comfortable in the environment and move around and then get back into a zone that was more, you know. And if you want to defend the game at all costs, you might say that discomfort was part of the appeal. It's not. I don't think it ties into the fear of the Emmy things or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I just felt like it was not. There was some kind of way, part of you being let off the leash to explore and just move around the map freely in an enjoyable way without having to look at the map all the time and see if you're in some kind of one-way loop system or dead end or something, and just knowing where you are and knowing how you can get back to an area where you can comfortably navigate again to another place or something. That sense never really came for me in Dread, and I feel like it's part of the appeal of the Metroid genre, you know. So yeah, I don't know, but if the level design is improved, then hey, it could be really, really good. So that's the hope.
Proceeding as planned.
Favorite Colossus from Shadow of the Colossus. It's a slight spoiler. I think it's the fifth one.
Please advise. Suspect's
The
description.
bird. The bird. I was, when I initially played it, I was already enjoying the game,
Right.
but I don't have the best memory, but I vividly remember the moment where I got onto the bird and I was just blown away. That was the moment where the game really blew me away, you know.
I hate the smell of this part of the city. This is Unit Alpha. We're en route.
I enjoyed The Lost Crown, yeah. The studio was dissolved, yeah. That was way better than I expected it to be. That's another game that's a good one to mention because it uses a similar visual style to Dread, but I thought the level design in that one was a lot better. It, at least,
Right. We'll check it out.
yeah, it was the level design was better in that game, I think. And it is one of those games where it, you know, it's far from being the only Metroidvania that does this, but it's got that nice mixture of there are these gauntlets, platforming gauntlets, where you're stuck and you've got to go through this sort of thing you can't get around, but then also more wider open areas where you can just enjoy some of the combat and you can enjoy some of the traversal and exploration at a slightly more relaxed, more open pace, you know. But plus also, again, I know I said this already, but just a sheer abundance of teleporters. Was this the first Metroid game with teleporters as well? I think it might be. But you know, the absolute abundance of teleporters and transports and elevators and stuff, just
I hate the smell of this part of the city.
that kind of kills it as well for me. I can handle a little bit of that. Like, I mean, if you, I'd say the same thing about Super Metroid. If you just took the elevators out, the game would be better. You know. Well, I should be
Roger that.
careful about committing to that. I do think when you're making a game where the player is exploring the environment for long stretches of, I mean, there's no cutscenes, there's no nothing like that. So a little part where you can put the controller down while you're going up and down an elevator is, it's a lot less impactful. Um, versus again, you know, in Dread you have all those forced cutscenes where you have to talk to the computer and blah blah blah. So, but yeah, I mean, like,
Seal off the area.
Super Metroid did not need all those elevators either. You know, maybe it did for technical reasons. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's a better game for them because of their existence. Okay, where is the elevator? I think it's over here. Let's see if we can.
This area is off limits.
Is it over here? No. Maybe this will be a nice scene. Maybe we'll just stay in the city the whole time. Probably close to the forest though. Let's see how this looks. It's kind of nice. We'll linger here for a few minutes at least. It's on the PS2 indeed. This is running on a PS2, by the way. Now there's a detail I doubt I ever noticed. The wind is behaving in the way that it behaves in modern games, where it actually sweeps across the trees. If you watch it closely, you'll see that they're moving in a consistent direction, which of course you expect when there's wind, but it's actually sweeping across them. Come on, it's not really doing it now. It'll do it again. Maybe it was my imagination. I don't know. That bit looked more like they were animating in sync, but there was a bit when they, yeah, you can kind of see it there. I don't know, maybe I'm imagining it. It's well done either way, I suppose. I thought I saw it kind of sweep across them. Twilight Princess has some great vistas. Yeah, maybe we'll do that one eventually. Do kind of want to prioritize games that have a day-night cycle. I forget, the day-night cycle in the Wind Waker only works when you're on the boat, doesn't it? You have to be away from the island, I think. Yeah, it's nice that this game is reasonably challenging. I think there's a hard mode. I don't know. I don't have it right now as I don't have... This is the only save I have on this memory card. I think there's a hard mode that you unlock when you beat it, and I think that that's pretty fucking hard from what I remember. The game is already kind of challenging, but there's a couple of missions on hard mode that are actually genuinely tough from what I remember. Yeah, it's the same way as the Wind Waker then. Twilight Princess. Yeah, Atticus says Fusion's linearity made the best use of elevators, in my opinion. They used them for cutscenes and blah blah blah. Say what you will about linearity, it does let you make moments you couldn't with open exploration. Yeah, I think I've warmed up to Fusion a bit. Compared to how I used to feel about it. But I don't want every. I mean, I always enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want every Metroid game to be that way. You know. This is probably something. This is probably a piece of trivia I told you already, but this is something over the years I've kind of regretted not putting this. This is the one thing I've regretted not putting into my Zelda comparison video many years ago. Was I think one of the problems with the Zelda fan base is, and this is still happening to this day, which is that's why I wish that I put it in, because it would still be relevant to this day. Although maybe if I had said it all those years ago, maybe something would have changed. But you know, since when has that ever fucking happened? But the Zelda fan base kind of has this thing, which is, I think it's very contrary to the idea of being a Zelda fan. Actually, like, I think if you really are a fan of the Zelda series, then it's hard for me to imagine how you have this mentality in the first place. But they, for whatever reason, it seems like Zelda fans really get hung up on the idea that the latest Zelda game represents everything that Zelda is going to be from now on. You know? That was definitely something that happened with Skyward Sword. I think it's kind of why you saw this worry about the Wind Waker back in the day as well. It's just, oh, Zelda's just going to be this cartoony shit from now on. We're fucked, I don't really want that, you know, that's all it's ever going to be now. And then when Skyward Sword came out, people thought that this is all Zelda is ever going to be. That's part of the reason why people are tough on it. And now people are saying the same thing about Tears of the Kingdom. Is just this worry that the Zelda series is just always going to be the same thing from what the latest entry is, which is just the series history has not borne that out. And I don't know how you can look back at what they've been doing and say that they're going to do the same thing over and over again. Yeah, Breath of the Wild made a lot of money and all that. Yeah, that's true, but it's just, I don't think it's... Look, there's always the chance I'm going to be wrong, but I think the next mainline Zelda game, whatever it is not going to... It's probably going to have some commonalities with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's not going to completely throw out everything that they did, but it's not going to be the exact same thing, you know? I don't think that's going to happen. Especially since Nintendo can sell you Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch too. Yeah, I just don't see that happening. So yeah, I think part of the reason why people freak out about newer Zelda games is because they're always changing. And then when people see what the new change is, they go, I don't want it. Like, if you think, again, there is some small chance I'll be wrong, okay? I have to do this. But from my point of view, for example, if you think the next game is going to have Ultra Hand or something, right? I don't know how many people actually think this, but if you think the next game is going to have Ultra Hand, that belief is delusional from my perspective. It's probably not going to have any of the abilities that are in this current game, and it's probably not going to do exactly the same things that those games were doing, you know? Will it take some stuff from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? Yeah, probably. But I think structurally it's going to change a fair amount. I do think, again, I don't want to get too deep into this topic in the aftermath of the video. I do think that, I think if anything stays the same, it may be the art style. Because what they were attempting to do with that art style was create something which allowed them, which addressed this aesthetic deception problem, right? and they landed on something which was palatable to a lot of people, but also allowed them to do what they were doing and reach that low level of aesthetic deception. Obviously, they didn't think about it in those terms. And I think that they would struggle to come up with another art style which was visually very distinct from this one without introducing problems that they didn't have before. But then again, maybe the series will change even more than I'm expecting, and they won't really care about that problem anymore. I think they will. I think that they will want to preserve some of the aspects of those games that I have called out as being good. But yeah, I don't see them making the same game again. I don't know. My biggest fear with Zelda right now is that the Ocarina of Time remake is going to sell like mad, and then Zelda itself will get into a Resident Evil style remake holding pattern. That would suck. I think that's a more grounded fear for me. Let's see what people are saying. I haven't been reading the chat. Chat's a little out of the way for me. It has been on most of these sound streams, but I basically tend to be staring straight ahead at the TV, which is just showing the scene rather than reading the chat. But then again, it's less distracting that way when I'm trying to follow a train of thought. Like Echoes of Wisdom. Yeah, I think Echoes of Wisdom is, if they did the same or a similar thing with if that had been more in the style of a full-blown 3D, full-budget kind of thing, I think people would see that it's not quite the same thing as Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, right? It's taking some things from them, and we might see another big ambitious ability like they had with Ultra Hand, and the Echo thing are fairly ambitious abilities, right? We might see another thing like that where they focus on some mechanic which is difficult to implement and pull off on the scale that they're attempting to do it. But yeah, I don't. If I had to guess, I would bet good money that Shrines are on the chopping block. I don't see them coming back for the next game, but I could be wrong. Because part of only if Shrines do come back, I think the only reason they will come back is if Nintendo is still thinking about the Switch in the handheld terms, and maybe that does have a stronger appeal and a stronger sort of mental hold in Japan, where the idea is you're doing your commute. I mean, I don't know how many people would actually play their Switch on the commute. Maybe there's a lot of people doing it in Japan or something. But you have this, 15-minute block of time to play your Switch, and so you resume from sleep mode and you play Breath of the Wild, and you can do a shrine in its totality, and that's a chunk of gameplay, and you can turn it off again. I don't think that's something that they should be factoring in for the Zelda series. I think especially because they have enough series with that kind of appeal anyway, right? So that's my hope. So that's why if Shrines come back, that would be the main reason, the main thinking about why they would come back, I think. But I think they're on the chopping block, and it'll be a new map and all that kind of stuff. It may have a new art style. I think if they do a new art style, it will be kind of similar to the one that we already have. But maybe they'll put some fun twists on it or something. Definitely think the next game will be more on the sandbox end of things. I don't. I think it will be less sandbox. First of all, it would be hard to be more sandbox than Tears of the Kingdom, but I just think that's not the direction they're going to go. I think, by the way, since we're making predictions, if I had to guess, I think because they're moving over to the Switch 2, I don't know how much they're going to be able to push the technical aspect. I don't know what the team is like there. As far as I understand, the technical lead on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, who, by no means is he responsible for all of that work there, but probably had a good hand in why those games are technically impressive. I think he's been busy with a lot of stuff like doing the Switch translation layer for the Switch 2 and stuff. So I don't know if they'll be able to push quite so hard on the technical aspects for the Switch 2. But I would not be surprised to see some system that was not present in the current games. The one that stands out to me is light. I think light is not simulated very well in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It doesn't have to be realistic, but if we're talking about things that are simulated at a level like the light simulation in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is behind most games. So they may feel like that's an area where they want to improve. And so then they might be thinking, what gameplay mechanics can we do with light? Right? What is there something that we can do with light that nobody has done before or that people haven't really taken advantage of? Or likewise, I could see them doing maybe a more sophisticated water simulation or something like that, and then doing a more oceanic game. Something where they add another system to their repertoire, and then they build the game so that you get lots of mileage out of that system. The main reason I honestly would bet good money that it's light, except that ray tracing has taken off and blah blah blah. Like, it would kind of make more sense to save this for a Switch 3 or something where it would just be a lot easier to do. But then again, part of what made Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom impressive was that they were doing things that developers could have done on PS3 level hardware, and just most of them didn't, you know. So yeah, you know, maybe PS3 hardware is a little bit low, but like PS3 to PS4. So yeah, maybe they will want to pull the trigger on that early and do something impressive in spite of that, but I don't know. Keep pressing the wrong button to roll.
I've got suspicious activity in this sector.
But hey, if I'm wrong about all that stuff, that's fine, as long as the game is good. But that's my bet anyway. Some other system that wasn't done as well as other things in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like maybe a water simulation or light simulation or something like that, something that they feel that they can improve on, and then a game mechanic which ties into that and lets us see the value in that in some way. And I think they will be looking to do something that's structurally different from the prior two games.
Exiting city.
Thanks, Waffle, appreciate it. In a previous stream you said something like, the systems in Breath of the Wild could work in a dungeon crawler. I agree. My issue with Breath of the Wild isn't that it isn't classic Zelda, I just wish it incentivized me to engage with its systems more. Yeah, I'm there with you. And I said as much in the Breath of the Wild video, and I haven't done a Tears of the Kingdom review. Maybe one day it'll happen, but I don't think it fully addressed that problem. Now, it has merits of its own as well, though, right? So we kind of have to take games for what they are, you know? And I would love to see something like that, though. I would love to see something that goes more in that dungeon crawler perspective. I mean, the trials, the sword trials in Breath of the Wild were a good sort of test bed, or what's the word I'm looking for? Proof of concept. They were a good proof of concept for that kind of thing. And yeah, you could definitely see them fleshing that out more and making a great game out of that kind of thing. So yeah, what can I say? I'd love to see that. Like I said it before, I'll say it again. I would love to see the Zelda version of a dungeon crawler. That's what I would like them to do with those systems. But whether or not we'll get that, I don't know. The Legend of, yeah. So Wrench says, we've been on water, we've been in the sky, we've been on the rails, it's time to go underground. The Legend of Zelda Arx Fatalis. I mean, that's kind of what I'm picturing in my head when I say that I want the dungeon crawler Zelda. I want a whole world that feels like it's underground or something, or more constrained in some way, you know? Yeah. I don't know if I said this before. I actually was, man, I have, so, yeah, I maybe I just throw too much stuff away, you know, like I feel like this people had this false impression of me years ago that I had loads more material than I've shown, but that impression has kind of become true because one of the things I want to do is I was writing up a blog post of just things that I would like to see in the next Zelda, personal hopes, you know. Just kind of wanted to get them out there before the next Zelda is revealed. It looks like I have longer to think about that, and the deadline on that has been extended because they won't feel any pressure to reveal a new Zelda for a good while, which is a great thing, by the way. That's one of the nice things about the Ocarina of Time remake is probably the main Zelda team's not working on it, and they probably feel less pressure to show something now, which is great. Because there's always a risk of showing things too early and kind of getting locked into something that turns out to be a bad idea or whatever. But I appreciate it, Steven. Steven says, my problem with Breath of the Wild was the shitty dungeons. Okay. What was I going to say? Yeah, so my personal hopes are, just like in the same way you're saying, we've done the sea, we've done the sky and all that. We've done young Link and adult Link. So now it's time for old Link. That's my hope. I want old Link. I know this was a concept that they kind of kicked around for Breath of the Wild initially. But yeah, I'm probably just repeating myself, but I think old Link has two benefits. First, it's fresh. Second, it is a contrivance, like it's a narrative justification for why this Link would be less acrobatic and less able to do things like just scale any surface in the game. So you can take that ability away and people will not immediately complain about it, because there's people, and you know, sometimes I'm almost jealous of people who just engage with games in this way, where they're just looking at the fiction of the game and just saying that they kind of get into games in this way, and it's not necessarily a bad way to be. But there's people who, if you took away the climbing, they would complain that the game is worse because it doesn't have climbing. You've removed a feature, you know. But if you give them old Link and you say, well, of course old Link can't climb, his back hurts, you know, then the complaint goes away for them. That's my belief anyway. So yeah, old Link, more restrictive moveset, thus more reasons to engage with all of the systems that they have. Maybe a more constrained environment, but still open. I still like that the game lets you go anywhere. I don't want item gating as well. This is maybe one way where I disagree with most people. I don't want to go back to the item gating thing where your items are parceled out over the course of the game. I think there's a middle ground to be struck there where you give people some abilities that make some things easier, but not anything where you're actually locked out of an area until you find the right item later in the game. And also, you know, Miyamoto talks to me all the time, so even in spite of everything I've just said, I have a totally separate idea for a Zelda game that I'm happy to explore. If you want to give me a call there, Miyamoto, I haven't spoken to you in a while. I have a totally separate idea that I would like to explore. The idea that I'm thinking of is probably better suited for a top-down game though, you know, so. But yeah, if I was in charge of a mainline game, old Link, more constrained environment, still very open, you can go anywhere, still very non-linear, but just non-linear in that way that a Doom map is non-linear, right? Where you're constrained, you're walled in, but you can take the left path or the right path, and eventually you come back around to this chamber, but you're approaching it from the other side and blah, blah, blah. And, right? Like a Doom map, but huge, and maybe not quite as labyrinthine in every way, right? Trying to strike that nice balance of having big areas, like I was saying about the Metroidvania maps, you know. Thank you, Miser Jones. Not very miserly of you. I must say again, I've used that joke already. But yeah, not very miserly of you. Fans expressed interest in OOT remake. Nintendo capitalizes OOT remake. Spurs interest in Majora remake. Nintendo capitalizes on and on. And if you don't think this is possible, Resident Evil all the way down to Code Veronica, and it's still happening. Yeah. Yeah, I think it seems like a foregone conclusion. The one thing to counter that is it seems like a foregone conclusion that a Majora's Mask remake would happen, but that didn't happen with the Link's Awakening remake, right? So it would seem when the Link's Awakening remake happened, it seemed like it's just a safe bet to do Oracle of Ages and Seasons, but they didn't do that. And they also didn't do that with Mercury Steam and Metroid, right? Mercury Steam did Samus Returns, and then they did Dread. This could be a similar situation where maybe they're trying to get another Zelda team going. And, but yeah, I don't know if they really need, if they let, what's it, Grezzo that did Echoes of Wisdom. I think Echoes of Wisdom was a nice game. Definitely a great, like, considering that that's the first original Zelda game that team has done, I think they did a fantastic job. And I don't know that they need a third Zelda team, you know, so that makes me skeptical of that. But yeah, they went from remake to full game. Hopefully they do the same thing with the Star Fox thing, although I haven't actually seen how that game turned out. I think maybe I just have to accept that the Star Fox franchise is just never going to go the way I would prefer narratively and stuff, you know? Yeah. But they'll probably do that again. Let them make an original game. I don't know. Samus Returns and Link's Awakening had to be rescued from the Game Boy. Yeah. There was more reason to remake them. I mean, the menu interruptions in Link's Awakening are really bad. But I don't know, the presentation is very charming and all that. And I have to say, I don't know if I've said this yet, but having worked on Logic Bombs, man, Link's Awakening, the fact that that game is not even a Game Boy Color, because there's actually quite a jump in terms of what you can do. There's a lot of stuff that's the same. I think the processor is the same, but in terms of the presentation, you gain access to all the color stuff and just way more palettes and way more stuff to play around with. And by then they would have been making bigger cartridges and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that they made Link's Awakening for the original Game Boy is just astonishing. You know, it's crazy. Crazy to think about what that must involve. The technical challenge of it, just having all those assets and swapping them out at the right time. I mean, it's basically like what you find with modern open world games where you've got to load in the right assets at the right time and stuff, you know. It's like that on a smaller scale, but they must have had to at least consider that on a doubles for every 2-screen combination in the game, because the screen scrolls across, so you have to have the assets for both screens. I don't know, maybe it's not that challenging in the end, but yeah, it's just incredible that that's an original Game Boy game. I don't know. Having made my own Game Boy game, I was very far away from being able to do something like Link's Awakening, let me tell you that. Somebody earlier said they were playing Logic Bombs. Thank you. It seems like you were enjoying it, so thank you. Yeah, I'm the guy that made Logic Bombs. Can you believe it? World-renowned logic puzzle game. The most underrated logic puzzle game of 2025, dare I say. Also, maybe the only logic puzzle game of 2025. Thank you, Jex. Is that Taxi Driver profile picture? Thank you. I like both those videos as well. It's hard for me to go back and watch the older ones, but yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do better than Meta Micro videos and how that one came out. You know, I'm very happy with the theory videos, but the big irony of the Meta Micro videos thing, from my perspective, is that it turned out to be from my perspective, again, you can disagree, maybe you don't like it, some people don't like it, you know, but it turned out to be a good example of what I was talking about, where you work on something, the thing that you envision at the start is not what you get at the end, and maybe you get something better if you're just applying yourself to it, you know? So yeah, it's hard for me to envision doing something that I feel happier about than that, you know? maybe we'll just turn the camera around here and look at this. This is nice. Here we go. The green star, whatever it is. Don't think we ever got an explanation for that. Still there though. Logic Bomb sequel where you play as a pixel art anime witch girl and the gameplay is otherwise the same. It's popping off, baby. There almost was an anime witch girl in the game, believe it or not. Well, maybe not anime, but yeah, there almost was. I was working on story and characters and things that I was thinking I was thinking about having a wizard and a witch in the game for whatever reason. And I didn't do that, and I've lost out on $10 logillion as a result. So, yeah, I was considering. I don't know if I said this yet, but I was considering in the beginning, because one of the inspirations for the game was Picross on the Game Boy. I was considering having. If you play Picross, what you have is you have these little tutorials where Mario talks to you and he tells you how to start the game. And before I knew how the game was going to do its tutorial, I was thinking, well, I need some kind of character or something to tell you how to play it. You know, we need to have one of these little demo videos where the character has a speech bubble or something and they explain how the game is supposed to be played. Because... And again, I don't know if I've said this already, sorry, but if I have, but I didn't envision the tutorial working exactly the way it does in the beginning because I just haven't seen that done in a logic puzzle game, you know? I don't know if there is any other logic puzzle game that starts out the way Logic Bomb starts. Now, bear in mind, something like The Witness is not a logic puzzle game. So in a logic puzzle game, at least the way I think about it, the definition of it and stuff is you have to know the rules explicitly, right? It's based on the rules. And so it's not about gradually learning through inductive reasoning what the rules are. It's about knowing what the rules are and then playing with the rules, right? So, and then the other part, I suppose, of a logic puzzle game is that when you make a move, it's a move that you know for sure is set in stone or whatever, which again, if you think about, so if you're thinking about The Witness as an example of tutorialization, that doesn't apply to The Witness, right? When you're solving a puzzle in The Witness, you're dragging the line, and if you drag the line, if you have a way to go up and a way to go right, maybe you're dragging the line and you don't actually know whether it goes up or right. You're testing things, and so that's again not a logic puzzle. So the idea of having the rules introduced one by one at the start didn't occur to me until quite late in development, actually. Just because I had never seen it done. I'm not saying it's never been done, but I hadn't seen it, so the idea didn't show up for me. So in the end, I'm a lot happier with that as a solution. I think you can understand why that fits better with how I view games and what my ideal for games is, but it's just... if you have an inspiration and if you're thinking about things and if you've never seen something like that before, then you kind of default to what you know. And I was initially picturing a character that would talk to you at the start. Yeah, I think honestly, rather than repeating myself, probably the more annoying thing is just prefacing it all the time with, did I say this, did I say that? You don't need to hear any of that shit. So I'm thinking as well that I probably need to loosen up a little bit about repeating myself for videos. So it's kind of a struggle. Working on things that are not theory videos, I just wonder, like I said, part of the reason why I didn't do a Tears of the Kingdom review, and this is only part of the reason, is just because I knew that if I do it, I already had probably like a full early draft of the Aesthetic Deception video done. Maybe even before Tears of the Kingdom came out, I'm not sure, but it was nowhere near as polished and as good as it is now, you know, like very early days kind of stuff. But I already knew if I review this game, I'm going to talk about Aesthetic Deception. You know, maybe I won't use the word and maybe I'll use examples that are only relevant in this game. And blah blah blah. But so it felt kind of wasteful to go and do that. I'm more interested if I continue doing reviews and how I could do them, carrying on with the framework or the ideas that are established in the theory videos, and then we can see that maybe as a way of putting them to the test. That seems like a good idea. To if we have these ideas, then can we review games using them, and does that make sense, right? Because if it falls down when we're reviewing games, then maybe that gives material to go back and revise what was said in the theory videos, blah blah blah. But yeah, the funny thing is, though, if you look back over the history of all the stuff that I've done, everything in the theory videos so far is kind of a repeat, right? It's a more fleshed out, more fully thought out, more well argued, and maybe more important version of something that was at least touched upon in a prior video. The context sensitivity video was, well, that one's maybe a little bit more ambiguous, but that one came up on stream, you know, when I was streaming Symphony of the Night. I feel like some idea in that was also expressed in another video somewhere. Extrinsic motivation came up a lot in the Breath of the Wild review, and aesthetic deception sort of came up. This was before I had conceived of the theory video, but it sort of came up in the God of War case study. If you go back and watch that video, I haven't watched it since I did the aesthetic deception video. I haven't watched that one in years and years, but I'm pretty sure that when I'm talking about God Hand in that video, basically what I'm doing is I'm contrasting the lower level of aesthetic deception found in God Hand to the higher level found in the God of War games. And there's actually a visual example in that, which is very good. It's kind of like the invisible walls it's just like it's an invisible wall basically, but it was a good example of me showing in the newer God of War how God of War has these wall pin moves, but there's places where it's just ambiguous whether or not you can wall pin someone, because there's such a divergence between what the game is showing you and what's actually true about the arena that you're in, you know. So that was exploring the idea of aesthetic deception, but I didn't have a term for it, and I didn't put it in those, you know, so I didn't put it in those terms. So the theory videos are all kind of retreads, in a way, and yeah. I was wondering whether or not to do this, but I'm working on something where I may talk about fuzzy fairness in it, you know, and I was just wondering, you know, I've already done a blog post about that, so how much do I put in this video? But maybe I'll just go ahead, and then if I end up doing a theory video on it later, that's just the kind of general course of how things have gone anyway, so maybe it's not that big a deal. Yeah, exactly, JT. JT says, I think it is particularly interesting when you get caught contradicting yourself, because when applying a theory to a new context or example. Not that I'm saying it has happened to you. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying is it's nice to have an overall plan for the channel, and I don't know if this is the plan or not, but I could see a version of the future of the channel being, you know, we have these theory videos, and then I actually do make more reviews than I expected, but part of doing the reviews is to try and advance the reviews by not explaining things that are already explained in the theory videos. And then by doing that, we're putting the theory videos to the test, because we're seeing if I review games and I keep these things in mind, do they fall down? Because I will say, it's the kind of thing I'm always hesitant to say. I feel like game designers and game developers say this too much, but I'm trying not to. I don't want this to be like a reason to think that the work is really difficult or hard or good for this reason or whatever, but working on the theory videos has given me more of an appreciation of just how complicated this field actually is. I think that it's an extremely complicated field, the field of game design or whatever you want to call it. In some sense, it's not really that surprising that it's complicated, because what it is a way of looking at it is that games are all their own little universes, right? And so when you talk about games, you're kind of talking about a set of all possible game universes. You know what I mean? That's the worst, most scary way to think about it, is that if you're trying to come up with something that you can apply to all games, you're trying to come up with something that can apply to all possible simulated universes that could be considered games. And that's just not easy to do, right? It shouldn't be surprising if we struggle to do this or get it wrong or something like that. Yeah, so you got to be very careful. It's very easy to make blanket statements about games that don't really hold up, and yeah. Right now I'm happy with how the theory videos have turned out, but who knows? Yeah, reviews can become a stress test for the theory videos. Yeah, and then the ideal is hopefully the theory videos don't fall down so much that they need to be totally redone, but we can tweak them and improve them and do a second version of them. And maybe that's the version that stands the test of time, you know? But I don't know, man. That's a lot of work, and to be honest, I would rather make games. It's the truth. I would just rather make games. We'll go back to the city, I think.
Re-entering city.
Seal off the area.
Yeah, I don't really mind doing a repeat of the blog post. Like you say, not everybody, you know, it's only a small subset of people who read the Patreon. But what I'm saying is, I might end up talking about it in a video that's not a theory video and then go on to do a theory video, in which case I've kind of said it 3 times then, you know? Maybe that's overkill, but that is kind of the track of the channel. Like, these things have a way of coming up, having already been in prior video. Let me put it another way. I have another video in mind. I have several theory videos in mind. And let's see, which one? One of them has come up a fair bit. In fact, one of them is maybe an example where I've been a bad example, maybe, and has maybe come up too much on the channel. I don't know, but one of them has come up a good bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving myself credit there. I'm kind of talking about a different thing. Let's see. I don't know how many of them have shown up in videos. I don't know how many of these will see the light of day. But there's at least one of them that has shown up in a video already. Definitely at least one of them has shown up very strongly in a video that exists, where it would probably be another thing where I would actually use that game again as an example of the thing that I'm talking about. Just because partly it's fun for people to see the same example again. So you can go, oh yeah, I remember when he talked about that. But yeah, at least one of them has already shown up. And it's one that is further along than most of them and has a better chance. It maybe has the best chance of coming out of any of them. You know, it's still would take a lot of work from the point that it's currently at. So I don't know if that'll happen, but it probably has the best chance of coming out of all the theory video scripts that I can come up with now.
This is a no-hover zone.
Anyway, I feel like we talk about the channel maybe too much on the stream. Let me try and get somewhere. Can talk about something else. I'm taking the long way around. Oh, I think I have the yellow card, but maybe I've never gone through here. Oh yeah, okay. It fades away.
Serve your city.
Taking the long way around. We'll go to the slums or something. Yeah, initial and subsequent fairness. Yeah, that's a good one to pick out. All right. Maybe rather than doing a fuzzy fairness video, I could roll that in and just do a general sort of fairness video of some kind. That's an idea. I agree that that's a good example of one that would be worth picking up as in the theory. It feels like I was touching on something there that's worth exploring. Maybe there was something else in the Beautiful Joe video, I don't know. But yeah.
Patrolling Sector 9.
I don't know. Let me just play this for a minute, fellas. I'm trying too hard to think and play. I'll give my brain a little break for a second and I'll try and get us to another little vista. But bear with me a second.
Be advised, I'm on foot. Sweeping for suspects. This is Unit Alpha. We're en route.
How's the audio ducking going, by the way? Is that a pleasant level or what? Did I get it right?
Nothing so far.
Cool. Yeah. I have a feeling I'm going to want it to fade in a bit slower, but maybe it's okay.
Remember, even friends might be enemies.
Just have to be aware that you're getting a nice dose of the
Suspects.
game music, so it was probably a bit repetitive when I was going around on that boat. Hopefully the Haven Forest music was playing. That's a nice track.
Roger. Continue our sweep.
I'm not sure if it was playing because I was up on the ledge, I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to bear that in mind. Where's a good place to stand here? And then we can go outside as well afterwards.
The area is secure.
Here, maybe? Okay, I'm amazed they didn't come after me for that, but okay. That'll do. There. It's because I was off the thing by the time it hit him.
Nothing to report.
Yeah, I played the demo for Rhythm Heaven. It's pretty fun. The little RPG mode looks like it might be fun. I would hope that that's reasonably fleshed out. I could see myself spending time with that if it's done well, but I don't know.
Please advise. Suspect's description.
Shouldn't it be a violation to drive in the lower plane since nobody seems to be doing it? Yeah. It probably should. I think I'd like that, yeah. It's fun to switch up and down though. It's surprisingly fun to just switch up and down. I don't know why. The sound effect or something satisfying about it, so you'd be discouraging players from doing that. Can we make it so that they can get past me? It's probably annoying to watch the NPCs struggling so much. Here we go, all the lights coming on. Was it Vice City we were playing where the lights came on at different times or something? That was a nice touch.
I hate the smell of this part of the city.
The joke in the Aesthetic Deception video with the radio in Cyberpunk was hilarious. Thank you. Yeah, it took a little bit of effort to grab that, so... the thing, I'm glad that that shot came out well because I only found out afterwards. I managed to get a couple of takes in really quickly. But I found out afterwards that the radio on your save file is not saved. The time is linked to real time or something like that. So basically, I would have had to wait for Pon Pon shit to come back around again in real time, which would have been kind of annoying. So I was glad that one of those takes was okay. It was a little bit awkward as well because my PS5 controller has stick drift, so getting the camera to come down smoothly into the shot was kind of annoying. But yeah, it turned out okay. I am kind of enjoying because these videos are so serious and they don't have any jokes in them. I am kind of enjoying trying to find little visual jokes to put in here and there. I think there's a couple of other ones in that video, but I've already forgotten them. It's the one that I most like. This is an example. I mean, I wish I could claim that I was thinking 10 steps ahead, but I wasn't. But the thing that I most like in the video visually is going from the Scanner Sombra rope bridge to the Ghouls and Ghosts rope bridge near the end. I wish I could say that I planned that far in advance, but I didn't. When I was capturing Scanner Sombra, I didn't know I was going to use it for that. But yeah, that's kind of funny, going from one to the other there. Yeah, the Tofu Survivor was funny. It was worth it in the end, even if it was a pain in the bollocks. That one really did turn out to be worth it because there was a couple of reasonably lengthy clips out of that, so... Was it at least 2 clips, maybe 3? Two probably. I might have used the original Tofu Survivor, but it's actually shaped with a divot in it in the original Resident Evil 2, I think. So that kind of made the point a little less clear, you know? The thing, there's little planning things. I don't know if I should be saying this kind of stuff, but there's little planning things that you got to do when you're capturing this kind of footage that's kind of annoying. Like getting, I suppose it's a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm spoiling the Tofu mode for Resident Evil 2 Remake. But getting to the part where Mr. X shows up and having the Tofu be a full block is not something you can take for granted, because I think you only get 1 healing item or something like that. So I had to make sure that I got there and only used the healing item right before that so that the block was full, because when the block takes damage, it gets chipped away at. So as a visual metaphor, it doesn't really work, you know? But that was a little bit of a hassle. That didn't take too long either, but that was a little bit of a hassle.
Roger. Continuing our sweep.
But yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. And we didn't give Capcom $5, which is good. Did not contribute to the destruction of our beloved medium, which is what it is. Which is what it is. Fucking €5 for a fucking cheat code. Think there's any chance Nintendo will make more arcade style games after Star Fox 64 remake, or are non-remake arcade style games just too much of a risk these days? I don't think we're going to see a big turnaround in the types of games that Nintendo's making. But I do think even if this new Star Fox doesn't do all that well, it seems like it's doing well, but even if it doesn't, it's just healthy for a business to have, if you're a business like Nintendo, you've got to think about it in business terms, right? If you want to convince everybody that this is okay to spend the money on, it's just healthy to have different styles of game being made. So, I think it would be good for them to be producing at least 1 or 2 arcade style series. You know, Nintendo has never really been the arcade style of game, so it's not like they've betrayed their fans or anything. You go all the way back to all the way back to the NES, they were moving away from arcade style design, you know, all the way with The Legend of Zelda and Metroid and Super Mario Bros. 3. And so it's just not really their wheelhouse for the most part. But of course, they do make some good ones. Like Rhythm Heaven is kind of an arcade thing as well. I would love to see them do... I don't think it needs a remake by any means. I would love to just see them do a remaster. A nice, faithful, proper remaster of Star Successor would be great. That would be a nice project, and I think it would really suit mouse mode. Will it happen? I don't know. Probably wouldn't sell very well, to be honest. But I'd like to think that it would, that people would come around on it. I think there is a little bit of a shift in games that is things are maybe shifting in a positive direction, where people are getting tired of games being bloated and drawn out, and they want something a little bit tighter, maybe a little bit shorter. And if Nintendo was, especially if they're willing to keep up to varied levels of pricing depending on what the game is, then I think they could see a lot of success with that. So I would love to see it happen, but I'm not expecting any big shift towards an arcade mentality from Nintendo. Yeah. Yeah, Star Successor is maybe the ideal use case scenario for mouse mode, so high hopes that it comes back.
Roger that. We're making our sweep.
I haven't really given my impressions of the Switch 2 yet. I've had it for a while now, and I've played a bunch of games on it. But, yeah, I don't know. Bonanza is definitely the standout. Yeah, I suppose I won't get into too much detail on those other ones, I don't know. Just thinking about what topics I want to cover right now and what I want to think a bit more deeply about, you know. So sorry, but I think I'll keep it to myself. But yeah, I haven't really been blown away by the Switch 2 games. I want to play that Yoshi game though. I don't have that yet. I want to play that game. I'm quite interested in that one, honestly. Star Fox, Rhythm Heaven, Splatoon Raiders. So yeah, it's definitely got a nice nice library already. Hoping it only gets stronger from there, but we'll see. Think you're putting a lot of faith in the average game consumer. Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
This area is off limits.
Would a Switch 2 be worth it for Bonanza alone? I think it's probably worth getting a Switch 2 because the price isn't going to go down for the foreseeable future. For me, no, it would not be worth it for Bonanza alone. No.
Patrolling sector 9.
But you know, it's everybody's got their own things about what they're financially comfortable with and all that, you know. So, it was definitely a good game, and I'll probably replay it someday. And there's things in there that I'm sure I missed, and yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a great start. Let me put it that way. But it's not. I'm just basically on the hook for the next Zelda game. You know, it's whatever the next Zelda turns out to be. Even if it looks terrible, I have to play it to see for myself because I don't really trust what anybody I'm not going to trust people to tell me whether or not it's good. So, basically I'm on the hook. I have to play it and see, and so I might as well get the console. You know, it's not going to get any cheaper. That's you with Fire Emblem. Yeah, I think that's a perfectly rational way to be if you're really into a franchise.
I've got suspicious activity in
You
this.
can't necessarily trust what people are going to tell you about it, you know? So. Do you have any other big day one games on the radar?
This is a no hover zone.
I will play Order of the Sinking Star day one. I'm looking forward to that. What else am I looking forward to? I feel like I'm forgetting some stuff, but I don't know. Persona 6. Yeah, Persona 6 is another one. That'd be a day one for me. I'd love to see that one turn into something great. I'd love to see that to be at least somewhat of a departure from the last 3 Persona games, because maybe it's got a new team behind it, but it depends on what the team is, you know, and whether they're any good. Hopefully they are, and hopefully they do something cool with it. But yeah, Persona 6 would be a day one. Metroid 6, if that's real, yeah, I'd go for that day one. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Wonderful 101 shines pretty well on the Switch too as well from what I played. I know the screen on it isn't the best, but it is at least higher resolution than the Steam Deck, and you can do the handheld boost mode thing as well, so you're getting a better experience in handheld than the Steam Deck too, which is nice. If the Steam Deck is your alternative like it is for me. Get the feeling Atlus's best days are behind them. I think you might be right there, but I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think SMT5 Vengeance was a huge improvement over 5, so absolutely huge improvement. So we'll see, you know. Look, whatever the game designers do, you're getting a Ryota Kozuka soundtrack with your next SMT or Persona game or something, you know, so you've that to look forward to. Yeah, a cool soundtrack and a nice visualizer to go along with it. That's a good point. It's slipped off screen for me now, but somebody mentioned that the Persona team, the current Persona team, were probably in charge of the Royal version of Persona 5, which I really liked that as well. I thought that those were good additions to the game for the most part. There was one anime brain rot dance number that the game definitely could have done without, but for the most part, it was good. Let's say there's 2 major new characters in it, and one of those characters was really good and the other character was not so good. Not terrible, but not so good, and maybe indicates worrying tendencies by the developers, you know. Um, but yeah, one of the characters was really really good, and what they did with that stuff I thought was great. So yeah, if they do a similarly good job on Persona 6, could be great. Do you think Metaphor got less buzz in part because people are holding off until some re-release of the game? I think that's part of the problem with it. I think maybe the bigger part is visually. People did not find it as appealing as Persona. Yeah, I don't know.
Leaving city safe zone.
I suppose if I'm trying to break it down, it's probably just less immediately compelling, right? People are kind of aware of what Persona is now. And there's a sort of relatable, it's not the best Vista, but whatever. There's that relatable, you know, teenagers coming of age kind of thing. And how that relates to the concept of the persona, you know. Which Metaphor doesn't have as easily an understandable thing going on. Maybe it just needs time to grow as a franchise or something, but yeah. Yeah, Rio, cause I didn't want to spoil it for anyone, but yeah. That was the surreal moment in Metaphor. I'll try and be vague, but to be spoilery for Metaphor, to be a bit more specific, what I found surreal was when I realized that I was looking at something which was exactly the same as something that I had seen before, right? Not just, oh, this is kind of like this, but rather this is exactly this thing, you know? If you get what I'm saying. Just finished the final puzzle of Logic Bombs and wanted to thank you for an incredibly satisfying game. My pleasure. Thanks for playing it. Thanks for playing. Some are saying it's the most underrated Logic puzzle game of 2025. Yeah, it's done alright. Should be less flippant about it. It's done alright for itself. Curious here if we can see under that bridge from over this side. just tend to get curious when I see visual effects in games like how they're done, you know? So the particle effects there clip through the floor. But actually, first of all, most people aren't going to notice that. But even just because they're close to the edge, it almost looks like it's just dripping off the edge or something anyway. So it's the kind of thing artists care about, you know? Well, they got away with it there, but I don't know. Oh yeah, that reminds me of something I wanted to ask. And maybe I should be a little bit more collaborative with people and start asking questions a little bit more. Yeah, I could probably just look this up, but maybe it's more fun to talk about it and give you my stupid, uninformed opinion. Anyway, we'll do that for a change. But do you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about shader compilation, right? And technically, it's something I've done. You know, like technically, I've launched a game on Steam. You know, like it doesn't feel like I have, like, but I did actually somehow. And so shader compilation is technically something that I've done, by which I mean there's shaders for logic bombs, and they're very simple. There's not really a lot to them. But then, I don't know how many graphics programmers we have in chat, but then basically I have to run an OpenGL thing which looks at the shader code and then compiles it into a shader program, right? So what I've been thinking lately is maybe we have a graphics programmer in the chat. If you're watching the VOD, feel free to comment on this as well. I'll try and keep an eye on this. But is shader compilation really as fucking stupid as I think it is? Because it seems like it's really, really fucking stupid. Basically, my understanding of this, which is insane, is that when you go to compile the shader, there must be a better way to do this, right? When you go to compile the shader, the program is basically opening a text file with just code written in it and then compiling that like it would any other text file of code, which is just an extremely inefficient way to store this thing, or at least that's how it seems to me. It seems like an extremely inefficient format. So surely if shader compilation is causing problems, that this is part of the problem, the fact that it's reading a text file. I don't know how much of the problem this generates, but now presumably this is not a step that I took, but presumably you can minify it. That's something that they do with JavaScript on web pages, is they do a step called minification, where you take all the same code and you just run it through a thing so that all the variable names are replaced with single letter or low letter number of things, so that you're sending less data to people. But even so, just compiling a text file doesn't really seem like a good way to compile shaders. So I'm curious if any graphics programmer wants to chime in here. Is there a better way to do that? Did I do it in a really stupid way, or is this actually what's expected of you? Let me know. Comments on a postcard. Somebody says stream dead. Am I still here? Okay. Getting a load of questions all at once here. Yeah, it does seem, that's kind of what I'm getting at. It does seem like there should be some intermediate form where you can, like a more concise shader language or something that, I don't know, human readable text file just doesn't really make any sense as a thing to be reading in. So for example, at the very least you would imagine something like the code that you write gets quote unquote compiled down to a list of byte instructions that represent the same thing. And then if the hardware has to do something with, like, I don't know. Just strange. Maybe it's not worth caring about because maybe it doesn't take, maybe it's just not inefficient enough to in comparison to the grander picture, but I don't know, it's just very strange. Seems strange from the outside looking in. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Captain Blad says, don't think that's an issue in modern days. The issue is the volume of shaders and their permutations, which increase the volume exponentially. Yeah. And the problem with shader compilation really is that there's just this incredible number of possible combinations, and so it's hard or maybe impossible to know ahead of time which combinations are going to be needed, so they have to be done on the fly. But yeah. Spear V is exactly this. Okay, I'll look into that. I mean, I'm guessing I can't actually use that, but should maybe look into Vulkan as well. Vulkan, but I've heard it's very hard to get started with. Based on your most recent video, I'd say you would absolutely love Baby Steps. It is aesthetically honest, explores intrinsic motivation, and has no context sensitivity. Yeah, it's on my list. It's on my backlog. I've never really gotten into any of those Bennett Foddy games. I'm kind of not expecting this one to be an exception, but I'll give it a try at some point. You can compile to an intermediary representation, but shader compilation exists because the graphics vendors never agreed on a standard instruction set that their hardware will implement that we can compile to. Yeah. That's about what I was thinking, but I just, okay, well, at least my instinct was right that there is some kind of intermediate representation that you can do, but I don't do that for mine, so maybe I need to look into that. But yeah, it just seems strange because when you think about graphics programming, you think cutting edge, absolute best of the best sort of stuff happening. And then the first step to getting your program to run is to compile a text file, is to read through a text file. And presumably then what happens is there's like a parsing and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, man. It doesn't seem right. Something about it is not passing the sniff test, as they say. But I don't know. Who knows? Not like I'm gonna fix the fucking problem. RPG Maker is the egg of creation of gaming. Hilux, Yume, Fear and Hunger. It can make great stuff if you put your mind to it. I'm wondering if, yeah, I'm wondering if I should just. You see stuff like Mecha Chameleon get 10 million sales. You just wonder, like, maybe you need to just go back to using an engine, you know, and make something quick and simple. I kind of have a vague idea for something simple that might be popular if I did it right, but I'm not convinced that there is any way to do it right. It's kind of bouncing around in my head as something that could be one of those things that blows up. But I would like to make something. I haven't played it, but Mecha Chameleon just seems fun, you know, so I've got nothing against it. Seems like a fun idea and people enjoy it, and that's great. But if I was putting out something that was popular, I wouldn't want it to be like a net negative thing to bring into the world, you know, that just sucks up people's time and is addictive without being fulfilling in some at least slightly better way. But yeah, I don't think I have anything like that, unfortunately. But it would be nice to kind of nice to just pop something out, you know? Anyway, we'll get there to another game someday. One day. Okay, I take the recommendation seriously. Thank you, Gabriel. Appreciate it. I'm not promising that I'll get around to it soon. Maybe it's on sale, is it? I didn't get anything in the Steam sale. There wasn't anything that really jumped out at me. Maybe I need to pick something up there. Have you looked at other recent action platformers since your break on Bushido? Not really. Somewhat, you know, I just play whatever interests me, really. I don't know that I've played any other major ones. I still have to get around to Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which people have told me is good. But I haven't got around to that one yet. Mecha Chameleon has friend slop as the genre on YouTube, on Wikipedia. Yeah. It's friend slop, man.
Re-entering city.
Seal off the area.
Isn't there a little robot that shoots you there, or is that only during that mission?
Area is off limits.
Where else should we go? This will probably be the last stop. I think I'm running out of steam. Where do we go? Oh yeah, well, I should have tried to find the elevator up. Why did I not do that? I'm an idiot. That's why. No other explanation. Okay, where are we going? Take a right here. Whereabouts is it? Could be there, maybe. Okay. It's a bit weird that you can drive over some of those houses. This one's going to be a big spoiler
I've got suspicious activity in this sector.
as far as environments and things go. Is it around here? It's got a proper door on it, doesn't it? Am I making this up? Am I misremembering this or what? It is around here somewhere. No. Here we go. Can we go back in?
Nothing so far.
Oh. Well, that's a bust.
I've got suspicious activity in this sector.
That would have been a nice visual, but we'll settle for something like this.
Suspect's description.
This is nice. Alright, I think I should probably wrap up soon.
Sweeping for suspect.
I asked a friend who loves action platformers a lot, and we couldn't come up with what is considered the best besides Rondo of Blood. The genre is too splintered. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection.
Patrolling Sector 9.
Ghouls and Ghosts.
Be advised, I'm on foot.
I don't use CRT filters on anything. Yeah, it just, first of all, it would be a bad habit for me to get into, because even if I wanted to, which I'm not convinced that I would, well, actually, it's not 100% true. I have the analog pocket there, and you know, I played Logic Bombs on it, and I did use some of the filters for the Game Boy thing, but the filters on that look really nice because it's exactly 10 times the resolution of an original Game Boy, so it just scales up really well and looks nice, you know. But it's just be a bad habit for me to get into, even if it was something I wanted to do, which I'm not convinced it is, but because then if I went to capture footage of the game, I might go and do that with the CRT filter on. If I wasn't thinking, I might go and do that with the CRT filter on, and then that footage wouldn't be useful, because it just doesn't make sense to capture footage with filters on it. If people want to see it on a CRT, then they can just watch it on a CRT themselves, you know. So
Sweeping for suspects.
would you ever consider a how to enjoy Ghosts and Goblins type thing? Yeah, it's a good suggestion, honestly. I don't know, I suppose right now I'm focused on things that are a bit more viable than that, you know, in terms of sustaining myself and all. Like, I never turned on ads on that Bayonetta video, and it actually did quite well in the end. Just people still watch it. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I wanted to use the label how to enjoy rather than how to play, because I was thinking it might be nice to do this for games where maybe the mechanical complexity or just hidden things or whatever is not the main thing that blocks you from enjoying it, you know. And Ghosts and Goblins is kind of like that, because everybody knows how to play it. You just run, jump and shoot, that's it, that's all there is to it. But it's really more your mentality that
This is Unit Alpha.
everybody knows how to play it, you know, but it's more your mentality that stops you from enjoying it. So it would be a good fit for something like that. Maybe that's a good suggestion, I don't know. I'm probably not going to do it anytime soon, though, let me put it that way. No, I didn't find a long-term game. The best suggestion, I think, was Factorio. I've mostly just been working since then. So, yeah.
Moving to next sector.
I picked up Valheim a while back. Played some of that. Maybe I should just go back to that. Got a nice atmosphere to it and stuff. No, that's good, Bob. Bob said your streams for Alien Soldier basically functioned as a how to enjoy for me. Yeah. That one is a tough one to get to grips with. It kind of has a rough intro with that snake boss. That snake boss is kind of annoying to deal with if you don't just instant kill it. It's not difficult or anything, but it's just not the strongest start to the game. I might have said this already, but I actually think that that might be why it's the first boss in the game, because maybe they weren't entirely happy with it, and so they just said, look, we'll lower the health on this thing and throw it out as the first boss, and then players can just have fun blasting through it, you know? But that gives the game as a whole a rough start, I think, for anybody who doesn't understand what they're doing, which was me in the beginning as well. You know, I didn't really know about the parrying or staying at full health, or just how good the Phoenix dive could do. But yeah. Oh, I don't know if I'll upload it, but that reminds me, I was going through old footage when I was making the Aesthetic Deception video, and it's there somewhere buried on a hard drive. I have a stack of fucking hard drives. But I actually recorded I think anyway, I don't want to overpromise here, but I think I recorded my Alien Soldier 4 damage attempt, which I talked about before. I didn't think I recorded that. So I was thinking of uploading that just on this channel, just to have it there. But yeah, I was surprised. I think it's there on the hard drive. I skipped to the end, and I'm pretty sure it's 4 damage. So I don't even remember where the 4 damage is. I think one of them is on 7 force. But yeah, that's by far the closest I ever got to no damage. I don't think I've ever even broken lower than 10. Unless it happened on stream and I've forgotten, I don't know. But, so that was a pretty extreme outlier. If I had just avoided 4 damage, I would have got it. The way the game works, by the way, is it tracks instances of damage. If you fall into water, I think that counts as a load of instances. And if, say, you do Wolf Gunblood, he has like a rapid fire shot. If he hits you multiple times with his gun, then they all count as instances of damage. So the damage counter is just the number of times you got hit. And it's not some kind of like HP count. So it's not like I got hit once for 4 damage. It means I got hit 4 times. But still, 4 is pretty low, you know. I could probably do it, set my mind to it. But yeah, it's probably not the best thing to be putting my energy towards right now. I have not played Blippo. No. It's like some kind of TV channel game or something like that, is it?
I hate the smell of this part of the city.
When you were developing Logic Bombs, you mentioned you were avoiding other Logic Puzzlers. Now that you released your game, have you since played any Logic Puzzlers? Well, I'm not sure exactly what I said before. I avoided them for the vast majority of development. I did get, just to be clear, I did get a little bit worried towards the end in the last few months, and I did end up playing a couple towards the end, just to reassure myself that I was happy with what I was doing. They were... what's it called? There was one, I'm not sure when I first played this, it might have been before Logic Bombs, but there was one called, I think it's called Mashu or something like that. It's by Nikoli, who's a company that does a lot of different logic puzzles. And then I also played, they have another one. This was later, much later into the development of the game when it was nearly done. They have another one called Hashiwo Kakuro, which is probably the most similar thing they have to Logic Bombs. Although, actually, I only found out after release, there's another one called Nuri Kabe. So, in a roundabout way, Logic Bombs is like Nuri Kabe because I think maybe Nurikabe was an influence on Dungeons and Diagrams, which then went on to influence Logic Bombs. But I wasn't aware of Nurikabe. I was aware of Dungeons and Diagrams, but not Nurikabe. Hashiwo Kakuro is the most like Logic Bombs. I had played a version of that many years ago, because there's a version of it in a Professor Layton game where it has an alchemy skin. But yeah, no, I haven't played any since then. But I do remember I went searching for Logic Puzzle games a while before release, just to make sure that this game didn't already somehow exist. You know, I suddenly got worried about that after pouring all that effort in. I thought, if this game is going to come out and somebody has already made something a lot like this, I at least want to know. You know, maybe that doesn't stop me from doing it, but I at least want to know this beforehand. But yeah, I couldn't find one that was just like Logic Bombs, so that was good. But I didn't really play any of them. I was just looking up rules for various different Logic Puzzle games. There's a lot of them done by Nikoli. They made a lot of them, so yeah. I haven't gone back to any other Logic Puzzler since then. No, as you can imagine, I wasn't exactly in the mood for it. Yeah, I still never finished Dungeons and Diagrams because I started working on Logic Bombs then, and then it was just difficult. I think I made the right call there, honestly, because I was in the early days of making Logic Bombs and I was still trying to get used to the rules of my own game and try to get really good at the rules of it, because part of what I was trying to do was, especially then, trying to push it forward and explore it and see what could be done with it, whether or not this actually can lead to good puzzles. And if you're doing that, basically what you do is you end up making puzzles that seem impossible. You just make a puzzle and you think, okay, this can probably be solved somehow. And then you make it and then you're like, no, I don't see any way to solve it. And then you stare at it for ages and ages and ages and ages. And then suddenly something clicks into place and you go, if this, or maybe this particular version of it is unsolvable, but if this number was just one lower or one higher, then I could think about this and this and this, and then it would slot into place, and then you start making the puzzle. And then when you make the player, the version of that you release in the game, you make that revelation a little bit more obvious to the player, you know, because these things, sometimes it's very unclear. Like you have all this other stuff going on and you can't, it's harder to see the idea that you're trying to get to. So you make that a little bit more clear to the player when you make it, so that hopefully they don't have to stare at the puzzle for hours and hours and hours to see what you saw. And you help them build up competency faster, but it's harder to do that in the beginning when nobody else has played it and there's no puzzles and the puzzles aren't designed in a way to make that process smooth. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't mixing up the rules with Dungeons and Diagrams, and yeah, I never went back and finished it. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. If it is better, then, you know, it had a lot more effort. It probably had a lot more man hours poured into it than Dungeons and Diagrams did, so I don't really take that as some kind of unequivocal win or something, if that is true. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't exist without that game as well, so. Oh, there's the moon. Never seen you talk about CRPGs. I've played a few of them. I'm not that into them, no, to be honest. But I have gotten some enjoyment out of them, alright. I don't know, there's still time for me to shore up my knowledge on that front. I will say, those Nikoli games that I downloaded, I got them on the Switch. I got Mashu, which I didn't really enjoy all that much, and Hashiwo Kakuro, which is a nice game. And they run really poorly or something. I don't know, man. It takes, like, when you enter a puzzle, it takes a while to load into it. It's just a logic puzzle, you know. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember thinking I can't be doing that bad. If this thing, if they've released something like 15 variants of logic puzzles on the eShop, and that's the kind of thing that just should just be instant, you know. It goes without saying. I don't know. Maybe it was a stylistic thing or something, but I don't know.
Seal off the area.
I play logic bombs while matchmaking in fighting games. You play logic bombs. What you're really saying is you play logic bombs in between playing real games. Is that it? Is that what you're saying?
Controlling sector 9.
Yeah, neon white was a good inclusion. Did I only use one clip of that or not? I forget. Maybe it would have been nice to use another clip from that game later, if not. Well, I was very happy that, because like I've said many times, I don't have the best memory. So when I was talking about the coyote time thing, I was thinking, can I come up with an example where I actually did exploit coyote time in this way? And I did. That's that level there. It's not the only way to do it, but when I was playing it, that's the way that I came up with to do that level, is to do a coyote jump off that ledge to get across a little bit quicker, and that got me my best time on that level, which was good enough to get the best medal that you can get on that level. So yeah, so I was glad that I came out with that example. I only noticed this after the video went up, but I don't know how I missed this when I was editing it. I just didn't pay enough attention to the actual middle. Because usually when I'm editing, I'm looking more so at the start and the end of the clip, because I know what's in the middle from having played it, and like obviously I'm seeing it on screen. But it was only right when the video was finished, I think after it went up, that I noticed that you can see my ghost data. I mean, I could see it, but I wasn't really sure. Like, I thought maybe it was just a jump effect or something. But what that is my ghost data, and it actually helps you visualize a little bit clearer that it's a coyote jump. So that worked out nicely. But yeah, just using a game as an example of something doesn't mean that it's, you know, it's hard to pick games, and hopefully I don't give people the wrong impression. You shouldn't really try to take it for more than it is. I wasn't trying to say that neon white is bad for aesthetic deception or something. Actually, the environments are really good for that. They don't have a lot of extraneous detail, is the term I used for the Breath of the Wild clip. So they don't have a lot of extraneous detail, and usually when you see to something, you can get to it, or it's relevant in some way, like you can touch it or whatever. So yeah, it's quite a good game in that regard. Just a fun game in general, by the way. Neon white. No, I don't know what the mouse wheel trick is. Well, the thing that's a bit strange about that, though, Shadow, is once you beat it, you don't have to listen to the characters anymore. You can just freely replay whatever levels you like. So if you enjoyed the gameplay and you don't care about the characters, you're kind of missing out. It's fun to chase after medals in that game, I think. Yeah, I only got about halfway through doing that myself. Maybe less than halfway. I feel like I would probably get stonewalled by some medal sooner or later if I had carried on, but it would have been nice to at least know that for sure. You map jump as a secondary input to the mouse wheel and basically spam jump when you fall off a ledge to get ideal coyote time. I didn't know that that was a thing, but that makes the coyote time very relevant in that game then, if that's true. So, yeah, not a bad example to use. Alright, everyone, I think I'll wrap it up here. I can't think of anything else to say. Discs are dead. That's the main takeaway for today. PS6 has no games, by which I mean you can't put any games into your PS6. Can't be done.
Moving to next sector.
Alright, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Hope it was a good stream. And I'll stop dragging these out. I'll see you next time, alright, everybody? I don't know when that's going to be, by the way. I said I wouldn't stream for a while. You can imagine I have reasons for thinking that I might not stream for a while. So this was an exception. Might be a while for you hear from me again. If I pop up sooner than you think, it's just a pleasant surprise, alright? Alright, everybody. I'll see you when I see you. Thanks for tuning in.